dementia improvement work. I'm pleased to say that with us we've got Ruth Rabbe and Sarah Marchant from Gatwick, who will join us to talk about dementia-friendly environments and how they've implemented change in the approach to not just family patients with dementia in a support situation, but also people with different kinds of what we call disabilities. You might be interested in why I'm wearing this interesting flowery lanyard, and Ruth is going to talk about that for us. So we'll start off by just perhaps asking Ruth and Sarah to introduce themselves, tell us a bit about their roles, and give us an opportunity to understand the context. So Ruth.
Hello, my name is Ruth Rabbe. I'm the head of Assisted Operations Service at Gatwick. That's my team. We look after all the customers that require assistance through the aircraft and once again on their return journey.
Afternoon, Sarah Marchant. I work for Gatwick Airport Limited, and my role is to help to make Gatwick as accessible as it can be for people with a whole range of disabilities, but particular focus on hidden disabilities.
I'm Rita Flaherty, and some of you who are online know me as Programme Director for the Dementia Fellowship Programme, which some of you were participants in. I work with Brighton Sussex Medical School on that project. I work with my colleague Vicky Pearce, who's here but off camera at the moment, but will be joining us in discussion. So Vicky, do you just want to say a few words?
Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Hopefully we won't have any technical hitches, but please bear with us if we do. So I'm just off the side of the screen at the minute, and I'll join in a little bit later on. So the Programme Manager for the Dementia Fellowship, and I'm now the Network Manager for the newly formed Sussex Dementia Improvement Network, which is the future of the Dementia Fellowship that we ran before.
Great, good. So the plan is to explore with Ruth and with Sarah how the initiative they've taken to improve the dementia-friendly environment at Gatwick, how that initiative came about, why they started it, what they've done to make a more dementia-friendly environment, and what the link could be for the rest of us in the different settings that we operate in. And we've got some slides they're going to talk us through, but actually I think more general, what did you notice that prompted you to think of this issue? What got you started on it in the first place?
Like I said, we manage or assist all the customers come in and out of Gatwick. 2 years ago, it was much by having one of the security ladies at Gatwick has a child who has autism, and we trialled some accessibility days. So it's basically for people in the area to come into Gatwick. We know lots of people with dementia, etc., and their carers have concerns about flying, and so it was about coming. So we have accessible days. Come meet what it would look like. Come and see the smell, the noises, the lighting, and things like that. So we have police there with their dogs, the fire service, a mock security. So that started about 4 years ago now.
Quite a long time now.
It is, and are inundated. We have enough support from within the various disability charities we work with. We could probably do it on a weekly basis, to be honest with you. So 2 years ago, in May 2016, we launched, as you've mentioned, the Hidden Disability Lanyard.
Which are these?
Far to date at Gatwick, we've issued over 9,000 lanyards altogether. Sarah can explain later. It's absolutely expanding. We've gone to Europe and we've gone various countries, which Sarah can give some detail in a second. And very much, if somebody comes towards us in crutches with a broken leg, it's fairly obvious that they need assistance. It was obvious for all those passengers who had hidden disabilities. And we work very closely with Ian Sheriff, which I don't know if some of you on the webinar may know through
people who are on later Dementia Fellowship that you came to, Ruth, with Ian will have met him, but I think most of the colleagues who are with us today won't have done.
Okay.
So do you want to say a word about Ian's role?
Yes, so in August 2016, David Cameron was Prime Minister at the time, and he initiated and asked Ian to set up the Prime Minister's Air Transport Group, of which Sarah and I are on, and very much about how does a customer with dementia, from actually booking their holiday to find the doctors, to get the medication, and the whole part of their journey. And then obviously for us, it was when we picked it up, when the customer arrives at Gatwick. So we did an awful lot. We've done an awful lot of work with Ian. So Ian is a unique gentleman who at Plymouth University, and we were with Ian yesterday, and has just raised the profile so much with regards to the air travel and the benefits of coming to Gatwick. So we have a lanyard, and again, it's for hidden disabilities. It's purely optional.
Do you want to say, when you talk about hidden disabilities, I know you've got these interesting cards.
Yes, so these cards, and we can get these to Vicky to share with you. So hidden disability is exactly that. We've met with many charities now. It could be somebody who has a stormer bag. It could be somebody with hard hearing. It could be somebody who has a visual impairment. It's about the cards we give to the staff, that if you see a customer wearing this lanyard, it's about how that's basically it, if it's a family who've got an autistic child. And we did a lot of work with the Alzheimer's Society with Tim Wilkins from Sussex. I've been to several carer support groups now, and in the understanding that if a customer is travelling with dementia and has their carer, for example, when they go through security, by wearing a lanyard, it tells the whole airport community that this customer has a hidden disability. And for example, somebody who has dementia and their carer, that carer might need to start customer as they go through security. Helping, like I said, if there's a visual impairment, help in reading a menu. So it covers all of us. It's purely optional, and all medical team. It does not say that any of my team would try to diagnose what the customer has. It's purely how can I help. Sarah can explain shortly. She's done a huge amount with regards. So all my team are dementia friends. Sarah, a dementia champion, and we'll give you the detail on the great work of who she's been delivering dementia friends to at Gatwick. So that's how we started the Hidden Disability Lanyard. Was on the basis with Ian Sheriff really back in August 2016.
So 2016 began this initiative.
Yes.
It was initially both triggered by thinking about people with autism, but people with dementia.
Absolutely, dementia.
And then you extended your thinking to a whole range of hidden disabilities.
Yes.
So Sarah, did you want to come in there and talk to us some more about what happened as a result, what sort of training went forward? I know there are some slides that the two of you might want to talk about.
Sure. We were keen to give our staff an understanding of the challenges that people living with dementia face. So rather than do a training session where we're teaching them, we wanted them to just have an impactful session where they understood how people feel. We worked closely with the Alzheimer's Society, who were absolutely fantastic to us, to help write a bespoke Dementia Friends package for Gatwick. We're currently rolling it out now as compulsory to all of our security teams and all of our terminals teams. I'm also attending office staff, team leads, and we're just about to start talking to the wider Gatwick family. So the week after next, I'll be delivering sessions to the Gatwick Police. I'm also talking to our airlines, our handling agents, and our retailers about doing the same with them. We started rolling out to our security teams and terminals teams on the 3rd of January, and actually on Monday of this week, we created our 1,000th Dementia Friends. So we're absolutely thrilled to bits.
Yeah.
But what we're one of the effects that we're really liking as well is this is as much about supporting our own staff as it is passengers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think so many
talk about that more.
people are affected personally by this. I think we have an ageing population, and Ruth's team is currently dealing with a 10% increase year on year. So this is something that we're very keen to continue to roll out awareness pieces that support our staff as well as the passengers. The Friends piece that we put together, it gives a bit of information about what dementia is, how it can affect people, how it's unique to everybody. We play a couple of videos in it showing how people are living with dementia day to day. They're active, there's a couple of quizzes in there, and we talk about some of the challenges that people face when they're coming to a complex environment like an airport. How do they get here? Are they arriving by public transport? Is it a car, do they get on a bus? If it's by train, which terminal do they go to? We have scrolling signage, which check-in they go to. Once they've checked in, what happens next? How do they get to security? Then we have all of the security processes that need to go through: belts, shoes, liquids, laptops. And it's enough for somebody who's fully able. Imagine trying to negotiate that.
It's daunting, isn't it? Even for a traveller who's able-bodied and is trying to navigate all of that, it can be quite a stressful experience.
It is. So we're trying to explain to our staff is they know nothing about the person who's walking towards them. They don't know their circumstances, their background. They don't know if they have one disability, multiple disabilities. The landlord gives them notification that that person might need a little bit of extra help or support. What it doesn't tell them is what that individual disability is. So we encourage them to have a conversation that just says, do you need a hand with anything? But equally, the person wearing the lanyard needs something specific. They need to approach a member of staff and ask for it. So the staff recognise it, but they won't know what the disability is.
Okay, so for the person wearing a lanyard, like I am, either carer needs to be able to approach a member of staff and feel confident. At the same time, the member of staff is primed and ready for that interaction. Is that what you're saying, Sarah?
I think you need to approach your staff if it's something specific that you need. So, for example, if you were walking through security with dementia, wearing your lanyard, the staff would recognise that you would need extra help and support. So they would explain to you what the processes are, what you need to do, and ask if you need a hand with anything. For example, you are impaired. You might ask the member of staff, do you have a hearing loop? And they direct you to the hearing loop at the end of the x-ray. But like I said, whilst it's a visual aid, know the detail. Yeah.
So that's quite interesting in terms of training, isn't it? Because that's quite a complex training task in a way, and readying somebody to engage with people, know the diagnostic situation of the person, having to get information, but also work with a whole range of possibilities. How do you do that?
I think the thing that we put across in the Dementia Friends awareness package is really simple. It's be calm, be kind, be patient. And if you follow those three things, you're going to work across what disability the person has. So we instill in people some tool set for how to provide that atmosphere, whilst at the same time they can still work within the regulated environment. We're very heavily regulated, but just by starting that conversation that says, how can I help? And we also are very clear with them, not everybody is going to choose to wear a lanyard. So by delivering these awareness packages, it again just gives them an aid to recognise when somebody might be struggling and might need that little bit of extra help or support.
So, how's it going? And what's the sort of feedback you're getting from customers coming through the airport or from the agencies you've worked with?
So we have been getting fabulous feedback. The only negative is more passive feedback we get is where maybe there's 30,000 staff at Gatwick and there's an attrition rate as well. So it's constantly going back to the retailers as well. So the feedback is really positive. Security have been outstanding, even border force, which can be classed as surly people. We've had really positive feedback.
Possibly comment.
Hopefully there's no relatives on the line. But certainly the retailers is where now we have to try and do a bit more work. Yes, we go to Marks and Spencer's and Boots and duty free. Everybody's aware of it, but whether the new staff member that's come on board, so it's constantly trying to keep these team trained, etc. So in October last year, Gatwick Airport now, with market research team, we ask customers if they're willing, once they've travelled, willing to provide a survey to the service has been, whether it was at check-in, whether it was any of my team in the departure lounge or down the aircraft gate and the CN on the return journey.
So right through their pathway of
return. And the feedback we've had a 68% return the customers that responded back, which is outstanding.
Yeah.
And we're also asking them, are they willing to share what their disability is as well, which again, we've had incredible amount of bearing, so that's been really, really good.
As well, we've had feedback from people, and don't get me wrong, we are not complacent and learning all the time, which is why we love engaging with the charities and support groups. They're our expert panel.
Yeah.
But we also have feedback from people who say it's literally changing their lives, that they're feeling that they can travel for the first time because they know that they'll be treated with empathy. They know that passengers will recognise them, that members of staff will recognise them and will try to help.
That's really important. So the whole brings back into a wider version of the life that they used to have before, whichever disability it was. Really working.
And so constantly looking for ways that we can improve. But rather than us going out and saying we've developed something that we think will help you, with the charities, we understand that a lot of people already have their own aids. I know there's an awful lot of accessibility features on iPhones, for example. Now we have a beacon system across Gatwick, so at the moment I'm working with the IT team to learn how we can link into people's support mechanisms and make more accessible at the airport. I think there's a whole raft of things that we can explore. One of the other things that I'm doing is working with our project managers and standards writers right at the very start of a project or a build. Instead of a box that says we've done everything we need to be accessible, is that they're properly thinking about who might struggle to use whatever it is that they're building. Then come and speak to me about it. Then engage with the national charities and the local support groups and get feedback. So instead of building something and then 5 years later on realising that we've got a problem that we need to go and fix, is that we're building in the solutions right at the start. So engaging with charities like the Alzheimer's Society, their opinion. We have a great example is in World Duty Free. We have a beautiful black shiny tiled walkway that's edged in white. There's a visual impairment. The colour contrast can be really quite useful, but if you have dementia, that can be a real blocker. So by just looking at these things right at the start and engaging with the charities, I'm really hoping that will make a difference to how we build things going forward.
To the structure of how you managed to embed this, you've taken us through it conversationally, but I know you brought some slides to share. So do you just talk us through your presentation and they help listening in and joining us on the webinar in terms of how they might do something similar in their own areas?
Sure.
Sarah or Ruth is going to start off. Sarah.
Okay. So that we put together, which just gives a little bit of background around some of the activities that we're undertaking and how we're doing them. So security is always a challenge, as we mentioned. We have a balance between customer service and regulatory requirements. So the things that we did initially was put all our security officers through City and Guild's customer service course, and we impressed on them that it is possible to do security and customer service at the same time, and they're not mutually exclusive. We are aware it's always a very delicate balance, but we know that security is always one of the things that people worry about the most. So that was an area that we really wanted to focus on. Back in 2010, just before the Olympics, we were the first airport to put in a family and assistance lane, and specifically marketed as a slow track. It was where people could take their time, do their fumbling and sorting out without having a businessman stood behind them, rolling their eyes. And the staff knew who was coming towards them and would have a requirement for a little bit of extra support. So we came up with this as our aim, and it's an ambitious one, also hero's aim. But frankly, we think it should be everybody's aim. And actually, accessibility is one area where none of the airports are in competition. We all understand that the more we share best practice and the more consistent we can be, the better experience all of our passengers have, which is why we're encouraging people to take on the lanyard. It's kept in almost every major UK airport. I was fortunate to be invited to a presentation in Stockholm back in March, and since then we've been approached by Hamburg, Munich, Schiphol, Wellington, Pittsburgh, the Australian Airports Association, Newcastle, Stansted, Newport. I mean, the list goes on. Spanish. So AENA is a company that looks after every airport in Spain, all 47 of them, and definitely going to be launching. They're starting with Malaga and Lanzarote. It's all out in Guernsey. It's in their harbour, their airport, their centres. Lounges are launching as well. They reckon they'll need 11 million of them, so they're going to start with a pre-order of 25,000 and see how they go.
This is the lanyard.
Yeah. Australia will be next, and they're very, very keen to talk to us about more. So I'm actually just waiting to hear back from them, but I think they're the next ones that will be picking up the lanyard.
And the thing is, when we actually launched the lanyard was, and it's so exciting now that other outstations, if you like, are taking it on board, because what we didn't want, especially for dementia customers, is to be wondering that if you have to fly to somewhere in Spain, so you're getting the service, the assistance you want in Gatwick, when you get to the other airport, it's actually of no benefit to you at all. So, as Sarah says, our COO at Gatwick, Chris Woodruff, this is the right thing to do. There's no commercial basis to doing this. It's obviously the lanyard is doing very well out of it all. He's holidaying in Barbados currently, I think. But it's very much about, it's the right thing to do, and it's about making sure that there's not the customer does not have to worry about where they're travelling to. So, and now Utopia, it doesn't have to be about travel. We've been invited up to talk to TfL in London, to
London, is that?
Yeah. Transport for London, sorry. Yeah. And it could be going to some doctors, surgeons now in hospitals.
Yeah. And very, very early days, and may come to nothing yet, but just starting to talk to one of the supermarket chains as well. But all we want is just for this symbol to be recognised, and people offered help.
Yes, and it's very important in dementia care, some of these different, the butterfly symbol and other things, that people can be identified without having to explain.
Exactly. I've already spoken about Dementia Friends and how we're rolling that out. So very much looking forward to taking that further. And we touched on work that we're doing with the RNIB. So IB do far more than visual impairment, as I'm sure you know. The gentleman on the left of the screen is a visually impaired Paralympian called Mark Powell, who I do a lot of work with. He's helped us put together a general disability awareness module. It has 6 videos within it covering mobility, sight, speech, hearing, learning difficulties and mental health. And the videos of people who have disability or a carer for somebody who has it. It's how it makes them feel when they get really good or really poor customer service. And then that's being rolled out as compulsory to all of our frontline teams. But what we're finding again is the support to the staff. So we had a member of our security team recently who shared something about herself after watching one of the videos that nobody else on her team knew, and she's worked with them for 10 years. So it's encouraging people just to open up and have that conversation. Use a product called I, which helps to simulate visual impairment. So we can take the project managers out, put them in set and say, well, you try and walk on that moving walkway and see how you get on. Now let's look at how we can make it easier. These are all just a few initiatives that we've been undertaking. We spoke about the lanyard, and Ruth mentioned the accessibility days. Again, just to give an idea as to the impact that they have, the left-hand side of the screen, when she came, was very fearful of dogs. She ended up spending virtually all afternoon with the Border Force dogs, as you can see, to the degree that her parents bought her a puppy, and it's one of her biggest support mechanisms. So I mentioned these are
some of the airports that have taken up the idea.
Yeah, so they're all either looking into it or currently rolling it out or just about to. and give you an idea of benefits that you feel it brings. Like we said, this is not a commercial deal for Gatwick, and never has been. We've always been very keen to do it because it's just the right thing to do. But benefits, I think, speak for themselves.
It's very well in terms of all that, we work in healthcare. Obviously, our patients and service users come through often general practices, etc. But actually, we don't really differentiate. Is this somebody's carer? Is this somebody who's just come for an appointment that's relatively low key for them, or is this somebody with some sort of disability that actually staff could really do with being aware of and could respond to differently?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear that you've developed this in a commercial environment and for which has some of the, one of the reasons we asked Ruth to come and join us when she came to the Dementia Fellowship is the airport experience has some similarities to busy hospital environment in terms of how confusing it can be and the noise and the bright lights. And, so it's interesting what you're talking about. It seems to me there is quite a lot of learning for healthcare organisations about ways we might think thoughtful about how staff can identify people who need more support.
And some of the things that we've done as well, just to try to make life easier for people, are give them routes. So whenever you leave security, because we're not stupid, we get you straight down into duty free, which is very busy, very bright, very noisy. So we've developed routes around World Duty Free for people who are disabled, so they don't have to walk through there. We have quiet areas once people are in the lounges. Actually, we have just built and are just opening a sensory room in the North Terminal. Again, we're labelling that. We're not saying it's for people who have a set disability. We're just saying we've put things into that room that we think might help people who have autism, anxiety, dementia. Basically, anybody who feels that they could benefit from the use of that room is very welcome to use it.
Your slide.
It is. Yes.
So, shall we bring Vicky in to join the discussion? Vicky, if you finish kind of managing lines.
I'm just going to try it. Us back on to.
You can just bear with us for a moment. Okay. Yes, looks like we've still got our group. So shall we do some discussion then, Vicky, and child learning and application, particularly for our sector?
Yeah, I'll still be a bit off screen.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you want to just unlock me? And it gives people a chance to hear from you and have a different perspective. Yeah. So just walk around, you two stay still. Okay. Right.
Here I am. Hello, everybody. Good. So, I suppose what would be really interesting to hear about is what have been the biggest changes in implementing the system in terms of how you've worked with the staff and the airport and the various buyers to the airport. It'd be useful to understand with that. If they need to go ahead and do something in a big hospital, it might be similar.
So I think the frustrating part for me is, like I said, it's the attrition of the staff. So you maybe go along to the airlines, the handlers, the crew rooms, the various stakeholders, if you like, as part of GAC. So our team obviously briefed. Everybody has in their winter refreshers, in their inductions. Everybody is a dementia friend, and that's continuously refreshed in all our inductions. It's then about getting out to the other stakeholders, like I said, tailors, the security and the Gatwick team that Sarah's picked up on now. And it's about constantly, because I'm not going to sit here and say that if you walked into the departure lounge today and went into Boots or duty free that everybody'd recognise it. That would be utopia. But so it's about constantly. It's a time job to keep going back to make sure that the posters that we've got behind us here, which says that way, our entity, is not visible. It could be if you see this lanyard, please just ask the question, how help?
From my perspective, I absolutely agree with Ruth. We hand out as many lanyards as you like. If the staff don't recognise them, know what they mean, and know what to do when they see one, it's all pointless. So it's all about getting the communication out there before launching, and just emphasising this is about having a conversation with somebody. So I think in a hospital environment, if you were potentially looking at putting something on behind the bed of a patient who has dementia to indicate, a sunflower sticker or a wall maybe, is making sure that every member of staff who's going to interact with that patient understands what the sunflower means.
That's very much, excuse me, I've had too much instances where I've had to go to hospitals, but it's about the cafes as well. So again, it's the various suppliers, the cleaners, the other people that support just the medical team in these facilities. It's about, it could be a dementia, walking around with their carers, or having an issue at the till of a cafe or things like that. So it's getting that training out to all the stakeholders that support in a hospital as well.
Yeah. Try to encourage that in an airport environment. What we've been doing is saying to people, have all of my graphics for free, have all of my training slides for free. Here's where you get the lanyard from, just use the same symbol.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's always difficult, isn't it, if you end up with lots of different kind of like symbols that indicate lots of different things, and you just need something that's universal, that's good enough to give everybody an indication, and then you can work from there. So again, with the benefits of hindsight, what kind of things might you do differently?
I think more communication. You think you carpet bombed it, but you've done enough. I think, and what Ruth said about the attrition is absolutely spot on. What I would have loved to have done, and I'm still actually fighting to do now, is getting more information out in the public domain, so in the landside areas, so that passengers, if they see something, it's not necessarily a naughty child, it could be somebody having a meltdown. If you see somebody who's a little bit confused, they don't judge them. So more public knowledge would have been really helpful.
Yeah. I imagine all sorts of things as well, doesn't it? I saw somebody recently in the supermarket and struggling a little bit with the money, and actually she was forthcoming enough, the woman who was there, to say, I'm not very quick at working out what the money is, so can you help me a little bit? And actually the staff were really brilliant, actually, I have to say, in the supermarket. But you could sense that the level of impatience in the people in the queue behind, that they weren't really understanding.
I think one of the challenges is we have members of staff who do the same thing for 12 hours a day, every day. Yeah. And sometimes they just forget that the person walking towards them is unique and maybe has never flown before, maybe has a disability, and just to try to recalibrate that. And that's where a lot of the awareness sessions come in, is just recalibrating that feeling that this could be your mum, or it could be your sister, and how would you want them to be treated?
That's really useful, actually, because one of the questions I was going to ask you was how staff reacted. How the staff reacted to the implementation of the project? Have you had any questions or people not?
No,
been very
no.
Okay.
It's I think the feedback is from them, and as I mentioned earlier, so our host and departure lounge have all done an NVQ in dementia care.
Right.
And the other thing also is, again, when you go to these training sessions, that it'll be, we know dementia, unfortunately, with an aging population is increasing. With the 4 of us sat here, the likelihood is 2 of us are going to have dementia, if not more. And a lot of the staff say, actually, it isn't just about the passengers and after, it's about their family members. So they'll come out and say, actually, my nan's got it. Or when they've done the dementia to friend training, it's actually, do you know what, I'm going to get my granddad to go and get checked out, because I think, out of what you've said, he have dementia, etc. So they embraced it, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And people living with dementia and their family carers, how are they being involved in this game?
We work very closely. Tim was on the air transport group. So Tim Wilkins from Mid Sussex Alzheimer's Society has been a great support. So Gatwick, we were winners in December 2016 of the National Dementia Innovative Award for our lanyard. So we went to London and won that, which was amazing. And so, yeah, we were very proud. There were some really, really good finalists as well, so we were delighted to win. So we work closely with Tim. We've been along to many carer supporter meetings. Again, we had some, because very much all about the care, obviously, it's for the has the dementia. It's very difficult for the care having to plan a trip, etc. And we've had some really good feedback. You know, very much one lady went to one support meeting and the lady said, my husband would never wear the lanyard. He just wouldn't. On the back of that, and I haven't got any with me, but we have a pin badge as well. Oh, actually, Sarah's got one on, a pin badge. And then we have breast ribbons as well. So we gave the lady, and she said, they've flown now, you know, he loves wearing his pin badge. So it's on board their feedback as well and suggestions, because at the day, as Sarah said, we work closely with them because they are the people living with a disability or looking after someone who has it. So anything that you can tell us to help improve, and we're certainly not complacent. We just keep improving the journey for everybody as well.
We also work with Vicky Walker from the national, from the Alzheimer's Society at a national level. It's incredibly collaborative. And we invite people when we do the accessibility so we can get their feedback. They can experience some of the situations for themselves, and that's how we continually learn.
Right. And just out of interest, have you tried anything that hasn't worked? Had any not quite successful or near misses?
Don't get me wrong, we certainly, for my team, we know, so last year at Gatwick, we assisted 617,000 customers of the year. We're in our peak now in June, so we'll assist 70,000 passengers in 1 month. So let's get it right. You know, we haven't lost anybody yet, as in that's gone off on
the, got on the wrong plane,
yeah,
or anything like that.
No, but I was actually back to an expedition yesterday in Olympia in London. We awful lot increase, and I don't have the statistics today, but we have lots of customers travelling with dementia that we don't believe should be travelling on their own. Yeah. I think the onus is we're not carers, and that's not getting rid of our responsibilities. We are there to assist the customer from the station or the curb or the bus route in, the aircraft and return. We have increasing amount of family, if you like, the dump is the word I'd want to say. They bring their family member in, leave them with us, and I do have people wandered off. You know, too often I'll get a phone call to say, Mr. Departure Lounge, we know has dementia, and we can't find it because we have seating areas in the departure lounge, but people dependents, they have a pager to go off and buy a coffee or a newspaper and have something to eat. And it'd be like 3-4 hours. We have had occasions where we've lost someone in that instance. And for me, we know there's such a range of somebody who's got the early diagnosis or is far more advanced and shouldn't be allowed to travel without. Made several calls to family members to say, you need to be here, and it's not acceptable. And we've had people arriving in from outstations, again, who have no idea, you know, and it turns out that maybe there's a letter and it says, well, can you call this person because they're coming to meet them, and this person doesn't know his name. And so I don't know how.
Thinking about supporting people who are quite vulnerable.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, we're not a care facility. We have a trained population, and our role is to support passengers to travel through the airport and have a positive experience and to be treated with respect. But there is also an onus on the passenger to understand that and to understand what the role of the airport is. We cannot give one-on-one support to every single passenger coming through. Last year we had 44 million passengers pass through the airport. Route team attends 70% of every flight at the moment. So we have to be realistic about what we can and can't offer, and that individual one-on-one just isn't practical for the vast majority of people.
Okay, I can see that we've got some questions from some people who are online, so I wonder if we just wanted to pause and maybe have a look at what the questions are. You can have meaning over now.
No questions, I think, is the answer to that. Bear with us, everybody. So Sam was asking what of the staff's responses to training been. If anybody else who's online wants to ask a question, if you just put your hand up, then we can see that, and then we can unmute you, and then you'll be able to talk to the audience. So,
Yes, responses from the staff have been incredibly positive, particularly around the Dementia Friends and the disability awareness pieces. Feedback we've had has included that people learnt things that they didn't know before, that they had a better understanding of how they could help people. As I mentioned earlier, I did have a few people say to me that it had helped them to recalibrate, which I think is incredibly valuable from our perspective.
yeah. Okay. Has anybody else got any questions? Put your hand up if you have. We can see. Debbie, you're unmuted, so do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, certainly. It's been interesting to listen to this because it's the first time I've heard of it. I was just wondering how getting the message across to people who may not have heard that Gap offer this service out to people. I thought there may be people who want to go on holiday who decide that they won't be doing that because they're unaware that a service like this exists.
So it's a really big issue for us. So at the minute I'm working with our communications team to start putting word out in the wider context. To start putting some articles into some trade magazines, hopefully. But I'm hoping one that we're just exploring at the moment is seeing if we can get some of the media to start to support this as a bit of a campaign. If we can get somebody behind it to really push it, but there's only so much that we can do ourselves, and we're really hoping that somebody on a national level will pick it up and help us to drive the messaging. But for the moment, it's about getting information out as much as we can. I spoke on the World Service last week talking about lanyard, and more that we talk to people, finding the more that's encouraging. So it's almost becoming a self-feeding thing. That really helps.
And it's on the Airport website. So if some book special assistance, then there's a link on there as well as how to get the lanyard. So we can either post it out to customers or they can collect it at the airport as well. And it's theirs to keep then whenever they travel through next.
I've worked a lot with different agencies and partners, and just connection with what you just said, Sarah. The John's campaign, which has been really influential in across a whole load of fronts, particularly focusing in on the issue of people have carer with them when they're in hospital and not being limited by hospital visitors. Just this week, it's a fantastic achievement in all trusts across the UK to sign up to that approach. And that's what you're saying, Sarah, about being able to partner perhaps existing organisations that have made successful campaigns work. There might be, with your campaign and the Alzheimer's Society and other ways to start to understand that actually this project is going mainstream across most airports and even things like Transport for London. So really interesting the way you've connected with partners, I think.
We have one of the biggest support groups in our area is an autism support group, the Crawley Autism Society, and they look after 900 families across Kent and Sussex. They've really championed the lanyard, and we think because of that we're seeing an awful lot of lanyards going out to those families. So where we spoke earlier about the surveys and the information we're getting from those, at the moment the largest percentage of lanyards are going to people who have autism, and we think it's because that support group is pushing the message so hard. So charities and support groups can go a really long way towards helping the word out.
So that's a really learning, isn't it, for areas that if they're trying to transfer the sort of similar approach as to how the information out through support groups or music groups and activities for people with dementia where they might be able to just kind of give some information. Did you know when you're at Gatwick or wherever
Absolutely.
Okay, I see that we've got a hand up. Sam, I'm just going to unmute you. Can you hear us? Did you want another question?
I had put one on there. I was quite interested in your idea when you were saying about developing new projects or new areas and getting people involved from the start, the different charities involved from the start there.
Yeah.
And I wonder, presumably you're potentially getting contradictory advice from them sometimes about what settings might for the people they represent. And I wondered if you had any top tips on working with charities and involving them in that stage.
Yeah, what we try to do is to get as many opinions as we can do, and then we factor in how many people we think we might be able to help by following that advice. And then it's a bit of a business decision. So if I give you an example, we have our lovely standalone check-in kiosks, which if you are in a wheelchair, you're going to find difficult to use, and if you have a visual impairment, you won't be able to use. However, if we lower the height of the screens and we put in a 5mm jack, then suddenly if you're in a wheelchair, they're much more accessible. And if you have a visual impairment, you can plug a set of headphones in and it will guide you through how to use it. So although sometimes we haven't really had contradictory opinion, we have ideas, and it's by taking those ideas that we think we can develop the very best solution. So forward, maybe the solution for that one is in 25% of those kiosks, we drop the height of the screen and we fit a jack, and then suddenly we are accessible. Don't have those conversations right at the start, it's never going to happen.
And thank you. That's a great example, actually. And just as a follow-on from that, any advice then perhaps for other colleagues internally about how did you get that change to persuade them to involving other opinions when they're at that design stage? Because you said it's kind of built as a matter of process. And my experience is that sometimes people remember, but you suddenly hear about a project or a new initiative very much on, and it's too late then to have, design decisions have already been made.
So fortunate that we have a very, very rigid project process that we have to follow. So we've literally written it into that process. Okay. But also one of the biggest helps is we, and purely through kind of personal networking, we have champions in various areas who absolutely buy into what we're trying to achieve, and they will drive their own areas to have those conversations early on. So, for example, in construction, I have a lady whose father was visually impaired, and she's passionate about accessibility. So years now, at every construction project stage, she's getting people to come and talk to me about it. But actually writing it into their process. So we have to go through several toll gates throughout our project process, and we're writing it into that toll gate. It's toll gate 2 writing it into. So before anything actually gets signed off and before we sign off our scope, we considered the accessibility.
Thank you, Sam. That's a really interesting question. Has anyone got questions? So put their hand up.
Okay, I suppose just to sort of round us off, which has been really interesting to hear about the approach that you've taken now. So what would you say would be the first thing that you would do if you were trying to transfer an approach like this to a different setting? What advice would you give to, say, one of our GPs who maybe wanted to have something in practice, or a hospital or community clinic? Do you have any kind of tips that you would want to share?
I would say, by all means, contact us, and we will share everything that we've got, and we'd be happy to spend our time as well. But communication, always communication, and I'm sure Ruth will have some things to add.
Yeah, it's pretty much that again, like Sarah. We welcome any opportunity to come and help and support, because we're passionate about, about it, just getting it out. Then it's about, somebody asked there about how to get the message out there, and it's all about the dreaded social media as well. It's anything we can do to help, please by all means come and ask us.
So powerful.
Yeah.
that thing, isn't it? Communicate, communicate, communicate. You know, tell them what you're going to do, tell them what you're doing, tell them when you've done it. You know. So, what's the thing that you're most proud of in terms of your?
It's just we ordered the first 1,000 lanyard. My colleague and I, when we came up with the idea, it was a case of what was 999, and then we just keep well, it was a good idea. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, it's actually how it's evolved now, and it's about, for me, if it makes a difference to one family or one customer with dementia and their carer to actually go on holiday to visit family, then we've done what we set out to achieve. So yeah, it's absolutely
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Anything else, Sarah?
Yes, I completely agree with Ruth. I think for me it's the lanyard and the value it brings, and just adding on to that now is the momentum that's behind it, and the excitement in seeing how quickly people are starting to pick it up and talk about it. And the more we can encourage other businesses, sectors to get involved, just the more powerful it will be as time goes on.
And I think for us, so our Dementia Care Improvement Network is Care in Sussex, your airport.
Yep.
Yeah. So for all our we've got sort of colleagues and members of some of our previous programs on the line, but also the recording of this will be available to everybody on our network. And it's me that most of the practitioners in Kent, Surrey and Sussex, if they are supporting families who want to travel, airport would be airport.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's really helpful to see the two of you here to talk about this for us today. It really helps
thank you.
practitioners and staff to have a better awareness that this scheme is on offer. So we'd go to what's the page on the website that they would go to find the right material?
So on the website, if you follow the link to special assistance, and then within that hidden disabilities, you'll find a link to the lanyard there. Or alternatively, you can just pick one up at the special assistance desk at either terminal.
Okay, great.
I have a question for Simon, so I'm just going to mute Simon if I can. Simon, there, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Hi, sorry, I just saw you put your hands up there.
I think it's a fantastic idea. First of all, I'd be quite curious to know how you came up with the motive. Secondly, you it started in sort of Gatwick, and you say that it's expanded, and the possibilities seem to be limitless. Clearly, other airports, it's as advanced as it is in Gatwick, and how are other airports getting up to speed with it? If also, I'm sort of the other observation, I guess, is that I'm sort of the more recognised it becomes as a form of communication, then what I can see that you're needing to train your staff. Equally, on sort of other travellers, yes, it becomes more you recognised, and I'm sort of they'll be recognised to other travellers who may also have a role in supporting and assisting those people who are who are sort of displaying it.
So, regards to the first, how did we come up with the idea? It was I did contact a lot of the local, like as in Tim from the Alzheimer's Society and autism, ambassadors we've got from various, to see if there was any colour combination that wasn't going to work. So, for example, would a black and white check be good? Contacted the visual impairment colleague to see whether they said that actually, there's nothing that won't work for us. So it was purely just going on lanyard website, and we like the sunflower. I'd like to say there's a bit more science behind it, but there isn't. We just like the design, and that's how we came about that.
Actually, that colour combo is nicely visible. It's nice and bright, and it's cheerful, and the staff can spot it easily. So yeah, it was the perfect choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Is your question, Simon, or is there anything else?
As I was saying, I'm sort of if it becomes more sort of recognised universally, yes, do you see a role in sort of in other travellers being sort of helping in that?
Yes, it's Heathrow, our lovely airport up the road.
They launched in December.
They launched it December, and as much as there's rivalry amongst all the airports, as as a community, if you like. In all fairness, they were complimentary yesterday. The chief exec was saying, thank you very much, Gatwick, for letting us. He also, it's in all 13 now of the UK airports, and well advanced in all of these. So in answer to your question, yes, as Sarah says, it's going to be Australia and Spain very soon, but it's shared all her training with them all. So it's very much a case of this is where you get lanyards, this is what you need to do for your staff, and getting the communication out there. This is how the customer can then get recognised.
Yeah, and I think apologies, I'm off the screen, so it's really just being here. But I think there's something interesting about what you're saying about how we might have a community become dementia friends and people who have an interest, how we might use the community as a resource in noticing that people are wearing these lanyards and be more supportive than they might otherwise be. Particularly because we've got an awful lot of people who've trained as dementia friends across Kent in Sussex now. Yeah. So we know we've got a much higher level of dementia awareness than we used to have.
Yeah, something on Southern Thames might be added. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks, Simon, for your questions. That's really, really helpful and really great to hear from you. So I'm going to wrap this up actually because we're just about coming to the end of time, and just say thank you very much to Rick and Sarah who came to us from Gatwick and share learning with us. And as I said, the webinar will be available online as a recording that people will be able to pick at a later date. If anybody's got any ideas about other webinars that they'd like to have, then please let us know, and then there'll be another one that we'll schedule in the near future. We're probably aiming for about once every 2 to 3 months, I would say, total. So thank you very much. Say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.